Hey friends, welcome back to the homestead. I have a really exciting story to share with you guys today about the bees. We are out here tonight with them and something really cool to show you guys too. But before I get all into that and that little story to tell you guys, I wanted to update you guys on how things were going with the bees. It's been a little over 2 weeks since I last posted a bee update video for you guys. It's not that I haven't been in there checking on them. In fact, I was just there about 3 days ago. And we'll just work through the hive. So this middle one, that's what I call hive number 1. The one way down there is hive 2, and way down here is hive 3. So hive number 1, that was the hive that I installed early this spring. I bought a nuke from a gentleman about 10 miles north of where we live. They're doing great. Got brood pattern, really nice brood patterns all throughout. They got the bottom 2 brood boxes completely packed with honey and capped brood. I just put a super on this past weekend. And so hive 3 and hive 2, those hives are the ones that I split with that nuke. The farthest one down there, if you remember last time when I checked them, there was, which was 2 weeks ago, there was a single frame of brood that was capped brood in there, and I thought, sweet, I got a queen, I'm queen right, I'm good to go. But then I remembered that I had taken a frame of brood from hive 1 and moved it over about a week prior. So I really wasn't sure about that one. When I was in that one 3 days ago, 7 or 8 frames all down the center, completely packed with capped brood. So that hive is definitely queen ripe. I feel really good about it. They had even all the way down to the ends of the 10 frame packed. So they got a second brood chamber down there. A lot of activity, they're working hard. So these ladies here, this is what I've been calling hive number 3, which was also part of that nuke split that I did. When I checked them 2 weeks ago, I was excited because I found a queen. You could see some of the footage from before, and I did not know at the time if she was mated or if she was still a virgin. But because I didn't find any eggs, I didn't find any brood, but I found the queen, so I thought I was good to go. 2 weeks later, when I checked it this past weekend, I had nothing. I couldn't find the queen. I had no eggs. I had no larvae. I had no capped brood. So what I'm guessing is she went off for her mating flight and never made it back. So that's bad news. What I did do this past weekend was I took 2 frames or maybe 1 frame of brood from hive number 1, because that's my strongest hive, and I moved it over here just to keep the population going. So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do at this point. It's the beginning of August. With that frame of brood in there, there's a chance that they could take some of those eggs, turn them into queen cells, hatch a new queen. She could go out, hopefully get mated this time, hopefully make it back home safe at the end of the night. But I'm running out of time to get this built up enough population-wise. By the time that happens, I'm looking at like 30 days out, so that's not good. There's also some local beekeepers near me that I know have mated queens for sale right now. I thought about going that route, paying my $30, $35 or whatever it is, get myself a mated queen, put her in there. She could get to work right away. I could add more frames of brood from hive number 1 if I need to get population really moving as we approach mid-August. Things should take off enough that they would overwinter fine. So if you've been following my beekeeping adventures, about a month ago I purchased a nuke, a 5-frame nuke from a lady about 45 minutes north of where we live. She told me that they had been in that cardboard box for about 2 months, maybe 3 months, she wasn't sure. And it basically sat out next to her front porch and got rained on the entire time. So when I brought that nuke home and I went to install it into my hive, and I started to pull some frames out of it, one all the way on the side was literally like this thick, and they'd attach the frame to the side of the cardboard box. When I pulled those frames out, a big chunk, probably like this big, of half of a comb structure was stuck to the cardboard box. And there's some honey mixed in there. The bees were all over it. They were trying to clean it up. And once I got all the frames installed into the hive, I decided, okay, I don't want to leave this next to my hive because I don't want to create like a robbing scenario. I brought it back here to probably 50 yards away from where our hives are at the back part of our property. And I threw the cardboard box down on its side. I threw the lid next to it and I left it. So I came back out the next day, wanted to just double check it, make sure everything was cool. I figured by then all the bees would be gone. They took all the honey and they took it back to their hive. But that's not what I saw. There was a chunk of comb like about this big that was still attached to the side, and that's what all the bees were covering. But when I looked at it the second day, it wasn't just honey. There was like exposed larvae in there, and the bees were covering it, trying to protect it, trying to keep it warm. And I started thinking, like, there's only like 100 bees here. What are you guys gonna do? And I thought, you know what? Let's just see what happens. So I went to the bee barn and I grabbed 3 frames. I dropped 3 frames in next to that piece of ripped off comb, and I put the lid on it, and this is where it sat for the next 30 days. Back here in the woods, on the ground, not even elevated up off the ground, getting rained on. So I did from time to time on our walks, on our evening walks with Rachel, I would walk past here, and every now and then you might see a bee come in, or you'd see another bee leave, and I thought, there's still bees in there. It's been 2 weeks and then 3 weeks. And here we are a month later, and wouldn't you know, these 200 bees or 100 bees or however many bees were left, there weren't many, somehow found an egg. They made a queen. She went out, she got mated, she came back, and when I checked this 2 or 3 days ago, they had moved off of the chunk of comb onto the wall, onto the frame. She had a little pattern about this big of capped brood, and she was just walking around with 30 or 40 of her little bees. They were all clustered on that capped brood, trying to keep it warm. So I don't know how the resilience of bees is just amazing to me, that they could come back from basically a piece of comb that got ripped off that was about this big, to come all the way back to the point where now they have a queen, they have capped brood. So by no means would this ever be viable to overwinter something like this. When I was in there the other day, there's like 50 bees in there. That's really all that's left. And I was telling Rachel that I wonder what was going through their head. Like, there's only 13 of us left. We got to save these eggs. Keep them warm, everybody. I know there's no hope for this to rebuild itself back up before winter comes. So what my plan is I want to take the queen from here, and I want to try to introduce her into Hive 3, which is my queenless hive. But before I do that, I actually want to try something that I've never done before, and I want to try to mark my queen. So here's what we have going on. You can see what they did to some of this on the sides. They started building that up. Well, right there on that frame is where all those bees are covering, is where that capped brood is. None of these other frames have anything going on with them. All right. Come on, I'll put you back. I'll put you back. Sorry, I take this out of frame. I can't. All right, it's a little janky of a marking. I got a little bit on her butt, and some on her wings. All right, so we're gonna put this frame back into that cardboard now, and then we're gonna transport the whole thing over to hive number 3. I'll clip her again, and I'm gonna lay her on top and see how the existing colony, whether they accept her or reject her. All right, she's still here, still green. Sorry to embarrass you, lady. Come on, go up, go up. All right, I have 2 bees in there with her. I don't know if I think that's gonna be okay. Sorry guys, sorry. All right, let's see what happens. All right, so the pitch of the sound that the bees were making has dramatically changed already. It's been about 30 seconds. And it looks like some are feeding her. They got their little tongues sticking through the little crack on the bottom of this clip. They don't seem to be in any aggressive posture. They're not curling up their bodies like in the shape of a C. Like they'll curl their butt in like they're in a sting position. But by all means, I know this is not a quick process. They definitely know she's there now. They're trying to get inside. Yeah, everything's looking good to me. They really do. See that she's got her mouth along this crack over here on this side. And there's bees going up to the little crack and they're sticking their tongues through. It looks like maybe one or two have made it inside the cage, inside the clip with her now. Yeah, this is definitely feeding activity there. Okay. Yeah, so she's right up on the top now. And none of this behavior from these bees is aggressive towards her at all. Their bodies are all straight. What I'd like to see is some of the other guys that are out here, is some of the spectators, I'd like to see them start fanning, sending some pheromones off to the rest of the hive to say, hey, we got a new friend. We got a new mama. But I do know in order for this to be a successful process, I don't want to rush this at all. This could be they could be here for another half an hour, 45 minutes. Even leave them like this for an hour. You can put a cover on here like a shim board and a lid and just leave them closed up like this for an hour or so, just to acclimate and get to know each other. Give the bees time to spread the pheromones to the other bees that all is good. Do not attack. Well, friends, it's been almost 40 minutes. And I still see no aggressive behavior from anyone. I think we're good. I'm nervous. Nervous to let her out, but I'm gonna be losing all my light here soon. Here she's coming out. She went right down in. Nice. But before I wrap this up, there's that one frame that was in this original colony that had some brood on it. I think it's only right to give it back. These were her eggs. There you go. Everyone seems happy. Everything's closed up. I feel happy. I'm still kind of in awe and amazed at the resilience of these bees to take a small little patch of comb with a few larvae and probably a few eggs mixed in there, 100 or so bees, and they basically built a whole new colony from it. They built a new queen. She went out, she mated, she came back. They moved onto the frame that I had in there. They drew out and cleaned up the comb that was in there so she could lay in there. They capped her eggs for her. They were basically starting from scratch, from nothing. So it's just so amazing to me. There's times like these when I'm going to look back after I've been beekeeping for years and years and say, stuff like this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I may be absolutely bat crazy for posting a video on YouTube of me catching a queen for the very first time in my life and attempting to mark a queen for the very first time in my life. And I'm sure I did 100 things wrong. And if I did, feel free to post some comments down below and give me tips on what to do next time. But to all of you who follow along with me on my beekeeping adventures, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the comments from you guys. If you guys enjoy what you see, click that thumbs up button for us. We'll see you guys on the next one.